Finally, Wargaming are admitting that the Centurion avre is a little bit overpowered, and we're going to see some changes potentially and nerfs coming to the Centurion avre. Of course, the top season reward that you can pick up if you purchase the Ultimate Season Pass, which is of course 6,000 gold right now, and the tank is definitely becoming a very big problem at tier 10 with so many being out and about and being such a skillless tank in the form that you can literally deal 500 damage to any vehicle you hit with it, and they literally can do nothing about it other than take 500 damage and hope that you can hit them back twice for most medium tanks in order to deal the same amount of damage back to them, which is a pain in the backside because they have a huge spaced armor frontal plate which you do have to shoot above or try and pen the turret of a Centurion, which is not necessarily the easiest thing to do, especially if you're not loading some premium rounds, and especially if you're a lower tier vehicle than this. It is just such a pain in the arse. It is, as I say, very skillless in terms of being able to just literally do damage. Like, the player doesn't have to be good that you're fighting against. As long as they hit you, you're going to take at least 500 damage. Yeah, it's kind of annoying. And obviously, higher skilled players are going to do way better with it. I'm sure skilled players can deal with the Centurion avre, but it still doesn't make it any less boring to come up against 3 of them in one singular game. So, you know, there's plenty of news on this, and we'll get into that in just a second. But first, of course, we can talk about some positives because it's not all negative. And the first one that we do have is a tank mastery challenge, which I don't even know if we've ever seen this before. But of course, tank mastery, you can get your ace tanker, you can get first class, second class, third class, blah, blah, blah. And of course, the operation that we've got here is to get some cosmetic emblems that you can pick up. And essentially what it is you can get a series of rewards for completing it, and then you get some exclusive reward stuff that you can have from it. But first things first, how do you get it? Well, it is a point-based objective thing. It's something you'll probably do in the background. You can't really go for it, if that makes sense. It is just a case of you have to perform well in the tanks that you're playing, and there are 4 levels of mastery badges. You've got the light tank mastery medal and emblem, you've got the medium tank mastery medal and emblem, and of course TD and heavy tank and artillery. Of course, artillery being probably the medal you don't want out of the lot of them, but either way, what do you have to do to be able to get it? Well, in essence, to get your top mastery medal, you have to get 100 points. And in order to get the mastery points, you have to complete mastery badges in your vehicle. So, for example, you can earn 4 levels of mastery badges. So, with each tank having different vehicle XP requirements for its badges. So, for example, the first one being Ace Tanker gives you 5 points. So, you could get 20 Ace Tankers and be done with the medal. Alternatively, if you get a first class, you'll get 3 points. If you get a second class, you'll get 2 points. And if you get a third class, which is 50% better than the majority of players in the game, and you will get 1 point as well. So, yeah, really, really nice. And of course, gives you silver, gives you XP boost, gives you premium consumables. It would have been nice to have some form of, like, I don't know, a vehicle that we could get in here if you completed all of them, but yeah, we don't get any free vehicles, unfortunately, but nice rewards either way. It's nice to see some cosmetics. It would be cooler if we could actually use these medals in the game next to your gamer tag to show, you know, you've done something or, you know, took part in the events. It would be nice if we could actually show off the medals that we have in our account as like a cosmetic applied to the side of your vehicle. And that way, you know, for some of these more prestigious stuff, you can have it next to your thing, and it's a bit of recognition. It's a reason to go out and do it. Is my point. But of course, that's just one small bit. Well, let's get into the other update news that we've got, and of course, what Wargaming are planning with the avre, as I'm sure the majority of you were wanting to find out. But let's jump over there now. So, first things first, as we always do with the news articles, let's have a quick recap of what happened last week, especially regarding the KPZ-07RH medium tank that Wargaming saying is a light-medium hybrid, which is Don't know, not necessarily true, but you know, if you want to actually check out a full review of this tank, I have got one on the channel where we managed to perform super well. I really enjoyed this tank and I thought I would enjoy it. I played like literally 3 games and of the 2 of them managed to deal like 5,000 damage in 2 of them. So I mean, yeah, it's a tier 8, remember. A very fun tank to play. But of course, check out that if you're interested. Of course, there's the Show Me the Money train. So if you've been wondering why you've been able to get 800,000 silver or less or more in your games, then it's probably because if you win 1 battle, you'll get 3 silver times 3 silver. If you win 2 battles, you get 4 times silver. If you win 3, you get 5 times silver. It's still available right now, so you can take part in it right now as of the recording of the video up until Tuesday. So when this new patch comes in. But really a nice event, really do enjoy this. It's actually something a little bit different, which I feel is kind of cool. Then we've had the spring sale, so of course there's 50% off cosmetics, and that is right now as well, so you know, take advantage of that. If you want to put some permanent camo on your vehicles, the gold value is also reduced. If you don't have any premium like I guess cosmetic vouchers or whatever they want to call them, and then of course XP conversion, there's 1 gold will give you 32 free experience, so I might take advantage of that. And of course there's 25% off equipment because Wargaming have rescinded on their 50% deal on equipment, and for some reason gone back to giving us 25%, which is a little bit of a shame. Would have been nice to have 50% off, since we could essentially try out new tanks with new equipment, and it won't cost you anything if you buy the equipment during the 50% off, wait for it to go 100%, and then you can sell the equipment. Don't know why Wargaming have changed to this. It just seems a little bit, I don't know, strange for them to do it. And of course, not very fun for players that want to experiment with their game, which is always fun, and of course keeps people playing the game. So yeah, would like to see that back to 50% off when you do the equipment discounts, Wargaming, please. But you know, they never listen to us anyway. Bundles, we have of course all of those. You can cover them in the previous news video from last week. And of course, tanks for free XP, blah blah blah. So this next week, there's not a huge amount of news, but the key thing that we have with next week is actually the discussion that Wargaming have opened up to us, and of course the Q&A that we'll do in just a second. But the actual content, we've of course got that Tank Mastery Challenge, which is good, and there's also the Surely You Jest kind of April Fool's operation type thing that Wargaming always bring out, and yeah. Essentially, you can pick up some trickster commanders. Wow, you can pay for stuff. And there's also brought some surprises, so keep an eye out for anything topsy-turvy as we get closer to April 1st. So I'm assuming as we go through the week, we'll be getting some more information on stuff, and I'll keep you up to date. So make sure that you are subscribed if you aren't, and you want to be notified of the new changes that Wargaming release, and hopefully that'll be good for you. Other than that, there's a few shout-outs. You can pause it here. I'm not going to go through them. There's always tons in the week, and I'm sure most of you don't really care, but you can pause it. Your name might be on the list if you did some really cool things. But either way, other than that, let's jump over to some of the other things. So, the AVRE update and stream questions that were given out in the Wargaming stream. So the first one, the AVRE update. So Wargaming's official statement on this, so this is coming direct from Wargaming. This tank flooded the ecosystem, that being the Centurion AVRE, so there's lots of them in the game, with it being in the pass, and we're looking at the stats and we'll see if any changes need to be applied. Okay. There's no clear answers or direction that we can address right now, so they're not going to do anything directly right now, but maybe we can apply certain matchmaking balancing to the tank so it will not see tier 8, but we will have more info next week, so stay tuned. This would actually be really nice, because tier 8's coming up against this thing. It's so boring. You cannot pen it reliably for most people. Yes, if everything goes your way and you don't get any RNG going badly against you, you can pen it if you know the weak points, etc. The very small lower plate, which you can hit, but most people won't be hitting in the right place of the lower plate, which is the center of the lower plate, if you know what I mean. There's to the left and right hand side, there's some big bulkheads that actually avoid you from being able to pen it. So the middle central section, a bit like the mouse, you will be able to pen. But of course, when you're above it, looking down at it, it's basically impossible to hit if you're on a ridgeline. So you want to be aiming at the upper hull. That's my opinion as to how you can kind of deal with these things. The turret is kind of a no-go. I mean, if you have super high penetration like some of the 268s or some of the tier 10 tank destroyers, then you can probably just go straight through the front of the turret since it is a Centurion turret. But yeah, it's still not easy to go through, so I wouldn't necessarily say that it's going to be easy to pen. So yeah, it's basically got more effective armor than a lot of heavies at the tier, so the fact that then it also can just derp any area on you for 500 damage, and also the fact that, you know, when you consider the fact that it can actually pen a lot of tanks, and especially lower tier vehicles, for 1,000 damage if it's loading AP, and if it loads the HE, it can deal 1,400 to you, so yay. Really, really fun when it has more armor than most heavies. So not a fun tank to play. Wargaming definitely need to do something, even if it is just removing the ability for it to play up against tier 8s. It's still a nightmare at tier 10. It is just annoying. It's not fun for literally the other 29 players in the battle when these things are in there. But remember, there's always about 7 or 8 on every single game, so it's not like you're always fighting up against other vehicles. There's, of course, tons of these things, and in the last few tier 10 games that I've played in, there's been about 4 on average in each team, so it's just not fun. Yeah, it's a pain, and especially if they're platooning up and you've got 3 of them in a platoon and they're able to, derp you for 500 each without having to aim. That's 1,500 of your hit points gone, and you literally did nothing wrong. They just have HE, so yeah, it's horrible, and is skillless, as I've said before. But that's what Wargaming have said. I don't agree with it. I think they should definitely do something about it. I think even if it was just a nerf to the armor, maybe they made it the Centurion 1 stock turret rather than the Centurion Action X turret, which I believe it is right now. Of course, don't quote me on that. But yeah, it would be just a lot easier for players to deal with and come up against if it did have that. Because, of course, there are the FV4005 in the game, which does the same thing. But, of course, that has some severe weak points, being the turret. You know, it's not the most agile. It's huge. The AVRE is basically the same, but has armor and is just as fast and basically a lot smaller. So, yeah, I don't know what Wargaming were thinking when they came up with this thing. But I thought originally it would be cool. Turns out it wasn't very cool at all. But leave your comments as to what you think. What would you change about it? Would you just remove it entirely? I know that that's probably never going to happen. So it's just never going to happen. Wargaming are not going to do that. But hopefully they'll do something in terms of balancing it, just making it a lot easier for players to be able to deal with, because it is a bit of a problem right now, and definitely a problem for most of the tier 8s and tier 10s. So yeah, you guys know how it is. Either way, would it be possible to change the hangar garage? So this is the other stuff that they've come in to include our tanks in the back with skins equipped. It's a really good idea, but I will leave it at that. Maybe Wargaming are already thinking about doing something like this. I have no idea. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But yeah, that'd be cool. Can we move our purchased equipment around without selling and rebuying it? PC does this, and we've had conversations about this. I like it, and we need to think if it's a feature we want to include. I think this would be really good. The purchased equipment, it means that people aren't going to have to spend a ton of thing, and it also means they don't have to do sales like I was saying earlier, where they release it for 50% off rather than that 25% off. You don't even have to do any sales if you're able to kind of move it around between your tanks, even if it only costs you like 10% of the value of buying the equipment on the tank that you're playing it on when you're swapping it. I think it would be cool. Can we get more 3D commander customizations? I will reach out to our art director and see what we can do about that. To be honest with you, in my opinion, I don't want to see any more 3D commander customizations. I feel like it's a complete waste of time, especially when there are some massive issues with both the UI, the replays. There's so many other things that they should just be focusing on rather than faffing around trying to make a 3D model of a weird commander that no one really cares about and is ever going to use because they already have their 9 skill crews and there's no point in retraining another one. But that's my opinion. Obviously, you guys might feel a completely different way, and I'm sure you're entitled to that, as my opinion is just from my own thing. You know, I'm not always right, and you guys probably know that anyway. But yeah, I'd much rather see other things in the game is what I'm trying to get at. Can we get a limitation of 3 on the amount of Weasel per team in Era 3? Yes, they are very popular, and we've seen battles of 5 per team. Limiting them is something we could do. We would need to build from scratch. What we did to RE and reducing the amount per team was close base, so much easier, but we are looking at the tank and what we can do. I think this would be very good. Same thing could be done for the AVRE, in my opinion. Next map hint, you can expect the next map on April 11th, and it will not be Live Oaks. So it will not be Live Oaks. There will be another map coming on April 11th. I'm interested to see what it is. Is it a brand new map? It would be cool to see some new featured maps. Maybe it's just a version of a map that we already have. I think that it would be cool if we got the Prokhorovka spooky version where there was a town on the top of the ridge where there was just something else, you know, just a new variant would be cool. It takes wargaming less time and it gives us more stuff. I think that if they're struggling with developer time, which I'm sure is a money hindrance thing for them, it'd be nice to just get, I know, some different variants of a map. It does, I'm sure it takes less time than developing a whole new map, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't, maybe it does, but it'd be interesting to have that in the game. Will there be a new SPG in the future? So no current plans due to community concern and discussion. Brilliant. No artillery additions to the game, which is always good. Any new hero skins? So there will be 2 new hero skins next season. So for those of you that want 3D heroes, there they are. When will Turan be available again? Right now, it's not in the schedule. I don't want to see this in the schedule ever again. In my opinion, the Turan is just a horrible vehicle, and definitely not one that they should have ever released in World War II for sure. But, you know, they go ahead and release broken premiums all the time, so why am I surprised? Any plans to introduce new Cold War lines? Yes, we are a few months out, so no further information right now. So there are new Cold War lines coming. We have no idea what they are. They could be the German, some more German vehicles. We don't know. It'd be interesting to see. Any plans to add Japanese TD line? It's something that we probably won't get for a while. I'm not surprised. Wargaming console are a lot behind on scheduling of some of the newer tanks that PC get, so it'll probably be like 2 years or something like that, maybe even longer before we were to get them in the game. So yeah, not looking hopeful. The Bulwark contract, it will be back in May. Could you add another new tank with free XP bonus? No, we can't make any more of these. So no, there is no availability for that. Next premium Cold War tank, stay tuned. No details to share right now, but I'm assuming in the next couple there'll be a few information, a little bit of information that they'll give to us. Cold War medals, it's actively being worked on, and there will be some Cold War medals coming in the near future. I'm pretty sure in a stream before they were thinking about the start of the new season, which was on April 14th, I believe, off the top of my head. But yeah, don't quote me on that exactly on the date that the new season comes out, but I don't know if they've now pushed it back, and that's why they're saying that it will be in the near future. Will we get a platoon hangar garage? We didn't have a good solution how to fit other tanks in the garage, but we are having talks about how we would do this. If we add other garages, we would need to see how this would affect them too. So yeah, I mean, not looking like we're going to get any platoon hangar garage. Will more garage designs come in the future? So they're discussing some ideas and options, and we're interested to know what garages the community would like to see. I think that would be good, even if you had to purchase them for real money. I don't have a problem with that. It's an addition. You don't have to buy it. Doesn't affect your gameplay. It is just a visual. Even if you have to spend 2,000 gold to be able to do it, I don't care. I think I'd rather see that than them releasing things like the AVRE all of the time. And I think much like you guys said in one of the live streams, you'd like to see more content which is not necessarily featured around, having to buy broken premiums all of the time, and that every single premium has to be better than the last one, otherwise it doesn't sell. It'd be nice to get some cosmetics in there that are, once they've been made, they're there forever, and they're probably not going to go away in terms of sales wise, because there's new players coming onto the game, they're going to purchase garages, and stuff like that. It's of course doesn't really become irrelevant over time because of the fact that they're always there. There's always people going to be wanting to purchase them, and they're always going to be seen in the game. Whereas old premiums, I'm sure that the sale of the T34-3 probably is like basically zero compared to some other new premiums. So you know what I mean. That it's always going to be there. So I think that would be good for wargaming to do. Could you tell us the current win rate for the AVRE? So it's 50.8% is what wargaming is saying. My problem with this, right, is that 50.8% is probably not reflective of the other factors that you have to take into account. Like, just because there's 50.8% is the win rate of the AVRE, it doesn't mean that the tank is not good, because remember, when you're facing 4 AVREs against 4 AVREs, one of the teams is going to lose. And, it depends on the skill level of the players then as to whether the AVRE is going to be having a higher win rate. Of course, when you look at things in isolation, it might seem, the tank's not that good. But you have to think about the fact that a lot of other vehicles don't necessarily get matched up against exactly the same tank on the enemy team. So, for example, an AMX-50B might get matched up against a T-57 Heavy. In that game, if the 50B player is terrible, you're going to end up with a worse overall percentage. Therefore, there's more fluctuation. Whereas when you've got basically constant amounts of AVRE on both teams, then you're going to end up with one team winning, one team losing. And when there is literally just one-on-one, you're not really going to see the true nature of the tank, because one side is going to lose 4 AVREs are going to lose, 4 AVREs are going to win. It might be a convoluted way of saying it, but essentially they're not very reflective of what the actual win rate of the tank is, and also the fact that this tank isn't necessarily overpowered in its sense that it's going to be able to solo an entire flank, because it isn't. But my problem with it is that it's completely skillless. No one has to aim. You just do 500 damage every single time you reload. You don't have to aim for weak points. Most players don't do that anyway, but if you do, you pen for 1400. If you don't, you still do 500, and the enemy teams have to pen you twice most of the time, unless they're playing top tier heavies or tank destroyers for, and they still have to pen you. And if you're poking over a ridgeline using the gun depression, it's a bit of a pain, but that's my opinion. Of course, stats aren't always the best thing to go by, and they can be really heavily impacted by things that most people don't think about, and they see them at base value, which is of course why there is the saying, lies, damn lies, and statistics, is because of the fact that you can pretty much pick any statistic you want and say that, yeah, this is completely balanced, which is how they managed to say that the Waffenträger E100 back in the day, when it had the 4-shot kind of 15 centimeter, and of course the 6-shot auto-loading 550 alpha damage gun, completely balanced and fair, because it didn't have the best win rate. But of course, it's not very fun when you're getting clipped in a Maus for full health by a YOLO wagon who's literally died instantly after. But that's for another day, and I'm sure you guys can understand where I'm trying to go with that. But next, reforged tanks. We're currently looking at some tier 8 mediums for the next reforged list, since most of them are pretty trash in the first place. Things like the T44, some of the others, CS52 list, that sort of thing. They're all kind of not very good in World of Tanks because, they predominantly are supposed to have more accuracy, but when tier 8 heavies have ridiculous accuracy using all of the perks that we do have in the game right now, you can make accuracy better on the mediums, but it only goes so far because you pretty much hit everything anyway in this game with most of the vehicles, as long as you've got the skills and of course the equipment. But that's my opinion. Hopefully you guys didn't find it too long, and hopefully we opened up some discussion on some of the things in the game. You don't have to agree with me, but I'll be interested to see what you guys think in the comment section down below. And if you want to join me back, we will be uploading now every single day for at least the next week. I'm going to try and get back into the daily uploads, and I've recorded about 6 videos right now, so they'll be coming out throughout the week. So there you go. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it, and hopefully you'll join me back in the next video, and I really hope you have a fantastic rest of your day and a fantastic next week. Thank you and goodbye.